I know I've been negative when it comes to the way WWE has been telling stories lately. And while I do think that a lot of this is warranted, I wanted to gift you all with a little bit of positivity. So today, we are going to focus on all of the WWE storylines that I think are in a great place, that I'm really enjoying, and that I think WWE is doing a really good job on. I'm about to give them their flowers. Before we get into it, though, make sure to hit that button to subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Come hang out with us. WrestleMania is right around the corner, and we are going to have some really fun content on this channel that I'm sure you're going to like. Now, let's get into it. Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I do have some things written down in the paper in front of me that I'm not gonna lie. Again, some of these are a bit of a stretch. Some of these, I'm like, I guess they're not my favorite, but I guess they're also not bad. And we'll get to those eventually. But as of right now, if I had to pick the perfect match leading into WrestleMania, the perfect booking we've seen so far, great storytelling week after week, and haven't really missed a step. It's also the storyline that needs less storytelling, the storyline that has had very little talking. And that match is Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar. This is by far the best match going into WrestleMania. This, I know it won't main event because we have two big championship matches with four of WWE's biggest superstars on the roster right now. But Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar is probably the match I am the most excited about going into WrestleMania. And like I said, right, a lot of this booking hasn't been a lot of talking. They have been maybe 2-minute segments across 3 or 4 weeks at this point. Obafemi came out. He gave Brock Lesnar his fall from grace, put his foot over his chest, pointed at the WrestleMania sign. That happened after Brock Lesnar came out and issued an open challenge. The following week, Obafemi comes out again. Brock Lesnar goes through a bunch of Seth Rollins guys, so he's tired. Once Obafemi comes out, Brock Lesnar tries to attack him. He misses. Obafemi takes him out again. Brock Lesnar tries to give him an F5. Obafemi gets out of it, gives him a clothesline out of the ring. Obafemi stands tall again. The following week, Brock Lesnar comes out. He comes out ring ready, calls out Obafemi. Obafemi comes out, and then everyone, all of the security, Adam Pearce, Triple H, stand between these two guys because we don't want to see them fight quite yet. We want them to have a match at WrestleMania. Simple booking. It's like Big E booked this match. Two big, beefy men slapping man meat. That's all we need. We don't need a whole convoluted story, and WWE recognizes that. And kudos to them for not overbooking this. Right? We're probably gonna, considering Brock Lesnar's schedule, we're probably gonna see this one more time before WrestleMania, probably in 2 weeks, and then we're gonna have this match take place in WrestleMania. Now, can WWE still mess this up? Absolutely. Absolutely. This does not need to be a 20-minute classic. I don't think that these two can have a 20-minute classic. Not to say that Oba's ring ability isn't there. I just don't think that anyone wants to see a 20-minute classic out of these two guys. We want to see a 5-minute match with nothing but a finisher fest. Maybe they're excited outside too, guys. They're excited outside. Maybe they kick out once or twice from each other's finishers and we call it a night. If Brock Lesnar wins that, I think I think we'll be okay. I won't be okay. I feel like Obafemi absolutely wins that. But I do think that Obafemi will be all right if Brock Lesnar wins that. I also don't think that WWE will have a Brock Lesnar. Listen, stranger things have happened, and fool me once, I guess. But I don't think that WWE will book an Obafemi loss without protecting Obafemi. Again, I could be wrong. There's only one way to find out. But this story, so far, kudos to WWE for not overthinking it, for not overbooking it, for not trying to tell us some convoluted story. What we have so far is perfect. We just have to finish the job, WWE. Remember when I told you some of these were a stretch? I think the CM Punk and Roman Reigns build has been really entertaining. Sure, it has been repetitive. I feel like week after week, we've been seeing a lot of like, you're old, a lot of you're young, a lot of you embarrassed my family. I throw you through a table, I throw you to a table. Repetitive, sure. It's also hard to book this match when one of the two guys isn't there week after week. So you do have to do things like get the family involved so that the Usos can confront CM Punk and then they can keep the story going forward. But I do think that considering its limitations, considering, like I said, a part-time schedule for Roman Reigns, I do think that WWE has done a phenomenal job keeping the story interesting. Again, repetitive at points, sure. I think that we maybe need to not have either of these guys on TV this week and then just have them on the week before WrestleMania. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's not going to happen. We will have CM Punk on TV this week. I think it's confirmed. Um, I don't know. Like I said, I like the way that this story is progressing. Um, I do feel like the legs are. We're trying to keep it positive. I like the way that the story is progressing. I think that CM Punk has done a phenomenal job being there week after week and keeping the story going. I think that the weeks that Roman Reigns have been there, he has played his part perfectly. I think the Usos being injected into this are a great idea and a great way to kind of be Roman's proxy when he's not there. I hope that something big comes out of this at WrestleMania. But honestly, if we have just a normal one-on-one match with one of these guys just winning clean and we just get this like heated feud just come to an end at WrestleMania, heated feud in quotes because these guys shook hands after War Games when they were in the ring together last. But whatever, we're keeping it positive. I think that it would be perfectly fine if one of these two guys just wins the championship. If CM Punk retains, Roman wins, it doesn't matter. I think that WWE can keep this momentum and just give us a really good match and would be perfectly fine with that. Our expectations of this match is that something huge will come out of this, something bloodline related, maybe a Jimmy Uso heel turn on his cousin Roman, maybe a or I say Jimmy, I meant Jay, maybe a Jay Uso revealing himself to be the new head of the bloodline. I don't know, something. I do feel like we're expecting something big to come out of this. And if that's the case, then great, because that is what WWE has shown us so far, is to expect something big from this match. If we don't get that and we just get a regular one-on-one match and somebody wins this match, that can be fine too. So kudos to WWE for getting us there. Look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it here. This is the most I've cared about the New Day in God knows how long. Since they turned heel on Big E, they had this momentum with him. They had all eyes on him. Everyone was just waiting to see what the New Day did next. And they fumbled. They fumbled. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go after the heel turn. But now that they're trying to recruit Javon Evans, now that Kofi Kingston is in Javon Evans' ear, we've seen him in the background of other wrestler segments, kind of chatting. We've seen the whole thing with Grayson Waller being maybe a little bit jealous of Javon Evans, maybe confronting Kofi Kingston for like not getting involved in his match, and also just for like never inviting him to be an official part of the New Day. But Javon Evans is, right? I feel like this is the first time I've cared about the New Day in a very long time. And yes, a lot of that has to do with the booking of Javon Evans. Yes, A lot of that has to do with the fact that Javon Evans is one of WWE's most rising, is that a phrase, fastest rising stars, that he is the future of WWE, that he is so young and popular and talented, and honestly anytime he's on screen you just can't help but be invested in what that guy is going to do next. So yes, Javon Evans is doing a lot of heavy lifting here for the New Day, but it's been the first time in a very long time that I've cared about Kofi Kingston and the New Day, and WWE deserves kudos for that. Do I think Javon Evans should turn heel and join the New Day? No. I think he is too popular. I think he's too good. I think he's too important as a babyface to the WWE. But would it be intriguing? Absolutely. I would absolutely be intrigued and want to tune in to a Javon Evans heel turn. I would. Do I want to see it eventually? Absolutely. I want to see it eventually. I think that this guy can do a really good job going from that smiley, always happy, always hyped up young baby face to being a heel with a chip on his shoulder. I think he can play both jobs perfectly. I can't wait for when that eventually happens. I don't think it's the right time, but honestly, if it were to happen tomorrow, I wouldn't hate it either. Kudos to WWE. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. Look, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I think the build has been fine. I do think that it's been dragged out. I feel like this should have happened months ago, but now that it's happening, I think that the build has been very fun. I like that Dominic has taken everyone with him, including JD McDonough. I thought that Finn would at least keep JD McDonough. I do think that Finn needs someone in his corner. Like maybe he'll recruit a Damian Priest before this match. Maybe he'll get a Rhea Ripley. I don't know. Maybe he'll get Raquel Rodriguez to turn face with him. Raquel Rodriguez. Look, she's not a part of my list here, but also I like what they're doing with her. They're booking her strong. They are making her look like the next best thing or the next big thing, sorry, because she absolutely is big mommy cool, big sexy, whatever she wants to call herself. I think that Raquel Rodriguez has had an absolutely phenomenal 2026 so far and end of 2025. And I do think that after WrestleMania, the WWE is going to push her to the moon, as she absolutely deserves to be. I feel like maybe she'll turn babyface either during this match with Dom and Finn or maybe during the Liv Morgan match against Stephanie Vaquer. But I do have to give WWE's kudos to for pushing her as hard as they have this year, for showcasing her talents, because yeah, she has impressed me a lot. So kudos to WWE for that booking, especially in the Elimination Chamber, especially in the Royal Rumble. But kudos to WWE for booking, but also just kudos to her for just kicking ass and realizing that she can be that kick-ass, just big presence in the women's division. Kudos to everyone involved. But I was talking about Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. I feel like these two, look, you're giving us two guys who have always kind of butted heads. There's always been some like passive aggressiveness under this. Would this build be better with a title? Maybe, but I also like the fact that they gave the title to Penta because he deserves it as well. So kudos to WWE for booking all of this, most of the Judgment Day saga that's happening right now. Positivity being a thing here, I do think that Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio match is going to be just a great match. But I do think that the build has been there. I think the turn has been warranted. I think that something big will come out of this, and I've been invested, and that is what you want out of wrestling. Again, short and simple, the women's tag team scene, the women's fatal four-way at WrestleMania, it does sound like maybe the Bellas are day by day, so maybe they'll be involved, maybe they won't. Regardless, I think that this match is going to be a lot of fun. I do think that it could have used some sort of stipulation, maybe a tables match, maybe a ladder match. I don't know. Hell, put him in a cell. I don't care. I do think that this could have used something more, but we're getting a fatal four-way for the women's tag team championships at WrestleMania with some really big stars involved. So we got Bayley involved. We got Charlotte Flair involved. We got Alexa Bliss involved. We got Lash Legend, who's been a really awesome call-up from NXT. We'll get to that in a second. But fun, all around fun. I think that this match is going to steal one of the nights at WrestleMania. I think that good for all of them. All of these women absolutely deserve this match. And yeah, just kudos to WWE for finally getting us there. Could this match have been more tag teams? Could we at some point had Kyrie and Asuka, maybe even a Rhea Ripley and an Io Sky, a Raquel Rodriguez and a Roxanne Perez? Yes. But that's not what we're getting, and that's okay. I really enjoyed the build to here. I liked it. Felt for a second like we weren't going to get it. But kudos to WWE for getting us what we want, which is a multi-team tag team match at WrestleMania. Finally, I think that the best thing that WWE is doing right now, even better than Brock Lesnar and Obafemi, even better than CM Punk and Roman Reigns, even better than 99% of everything that is happening in WWE right now. It is Danhausen and The Miz. I think that Danhausen is such a breath of fresh air in the WWE. Yes, we've had goofy wrestlers before, but the story that they're telling with Danhausen and the curse and it being a very real thing, we're blaming Danhausen for Dominic Mysterio losing his IC championship. We're blaming Danhausen for The Miz losing week after week. The fact that Danhausen's curse is canon in the WWE is so fun and such a smart idea. I hope that we get a Danhausen versus The Miz match at WrestleMania because these two would entertain. These two would be so much fun. I think the little skits that we're getting from Danhausen are fun. WWE is using him perfectly. I was scared during his debut at Elimination Chamber when he came out of the box for that dance and sing number. The crowd wasn't behind him, and I was just like, oh, this crowd just needs to appreciate Danhausen. Uh, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I wasn't super familiar with him, but from what I have seen with his skits with the Elite, with, what's the name of Taz's son? Um, Whatever his name is, the skits that I've seen with him um, from AEW and just that whole saga, I'm like, oh, this guy's a lot of fun. The interviews I've heard from him with CVV, shout outs to CVV. I was just like, oh, like this guy's a lot of fun. I want him to succeed in WWE. And then we got his debut, and it didn't sound like the people were behind him, and that scared me for a second. It scared me because it's like, let's give this guy a chance, and boy, has Danhausen capitalized on this. Boy, has WWE learned how to use him in the backstage segment. So kudos to WWE. But honestly, this is all Danhausen just being great at what he does. But if WWE wasn't patient after that debut, if WWE didn't give him time for those backstage segments, he wouldn't have gone over as much as he has. So kudos to WWE for recognizing Danhausen for his real potential and for what he really is. And also kudos to WWE for not getting cursed. Because if they wouldn't have put him on TV, Danhausen would have cursed him. Then where would we be? Would we be worse than we are now? This video is supposed to be positive, Danny. Anyway, there you have it. I wanted to talk to you guys about the good things that WWE is doing right now. Because, yeah, some of it recently has been complete crap. Why is Pat McAfee aligned with Randy Orton? Sure, he gave us reasons. Do they make sense? No, not at all. Not at all. Could it have been someone better? 100%. Anyone else could have been better. But we got Pat McAfee. I did complain a lot about that. I've complained a lot about the Gunther Seth Rollins build. I've complained a lot about a lot of things. Stephanie McMahon, why was she involved in that? I don't know. But I wanted to, shed a little positive light on WWE storytelling. Look, honestly, as I was like talking through some of these, I also did write down Trick Williams because just Trick Williams as a character has been over. But then I was like, well, that's not really WWE's doing because his booking hasn't been amazing, right? Like, yeah, he's been part of the main event scene, but he's only getting over because of who Trick Williams is. But I did want to say, like, as I was building this list, having Obafemi, having Javon Evans, having Trick Williams in the back of my mind, having Lash Legend, as I mentioned during that Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, they're just doing a really good job booking some of their new talent that has been called up from NXT. And I think that that's very important because WWE needs to build more stars. All of their old guard is retiring. Everything that they've used and had to build the last 20 years has gotten old and is slowly retiring one by one, and they're all going to be gone someday. So WWE needs to build new stars, and they're recognizing that with this amazing pool of NXT call-ups, Carmelo Hayes included as well. So kudos to WWE for that. I think that that's their biggest win, and I didn't talk about it in the main video, but as I'm talking through this, that is their biggest win here, is learning how to use those call-ups from NXT, because for a long time, the old man did not know what to do with them after being called up. But anyway, since you've made it this far, make sure to drop a like, make sure to hit subscribe, make sure to comment, let me know some of the things that you think WWE is doing well right now. And we can take it from there. Click on this video here. It's probably going to be WWE SmackDown Explained. My rating might have been a little high. As I've talked through it, as I've thought about everything that happened. I'm recording this Saturday, so last night on SmackDown, my rating might have been a little too high. But it is what it is. Go check it out. Enjoy. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, until next time, have a nice day.